Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to I Love El Paso. It's our annual event at the Tom Lee Institute. We're delighted that you're here, and we want to encourage you to come to other events that we have. Hopefully, we do have your emails so that you can be informed of things. We also want to encourage you to become a member of the Tom Lee Institute, because it's through your membership that we are able to keep these events free and open to everybody. So we really appreciate it if you can do that. And so tonight we're doing I Love El Paso, and people say, well, what does that mean? Other than Marty and Nevena love El Paso, and they'll tell you why. We do it because Tom Lee loved El Paso. He could have lived anywhere else in the world, but he chose El Paso, where he was born and raised, and he stayed here pretty much his whole life. And so he loved El Paso. He loved the landscapes of El Paso. He loved the people of El Paso, the culture, the binational culture. And so every year we find a couple who is a very interesting couple this year. Usually they have some form of distinction about them. And we try to ask them questions to help people to understand what makes them tick, not just professionally, but personally and in their family. And that's kind of the way we do help I Love El Paso every year. And so today we have Marty Snortum, who is really the premier photographer in El Paso, or really the Southwest. We'll say the Southwest. He's an amazing photographer. We were. That's true. Why stop there? And then we have Nevena Christi, who is the boss lady at Rocket Buster Boots. And you're going to learn all about them, so I won't give you a lot of details. But how many of you have been to Rocket Buster Boots? Oh, not very many. How long? Yeah. So,
open house.
Oh, right, yeah. Go ahead and talk about the house.
Yeah, we're going to have an open house at the shop so you can see how it's all done. There's little flyers over there and yellow QR codes. And we tour 10 people a week in the shop, but you just never know who's going to show up.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you have a lot of interesting clients, and you can talk about that too. But yeah, they do all the boots handmade, but it's a very interesting journey how they got there, and it started with Marty, which I didn't really realize. I thought Nevena was the center of the universe over there. She is. Correct.
She is.
Right. Okay. And so I'll be asking them some questions, and then you'll have the opportunity to ask them questions as well when we're finished with the formal interview. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, taking your time, and we really appreciate you guys very much and all that you've done for El Paso, because you really, both of you helped to put El Paso on the map in a whole new and different way, that's for sure. We are the boot capital of the world, but not boots by what you have, so it's really exciting. So just to start out, so that we get kind of your essence, I want to ask you, what were you like in high school? Were you like a jock or a cheerleader?
I was a ballerina, and I just want you to know that pink tights and a bun make you really popular in high school. My brother used to say, "Why are you at my table? I really need a ride to rehearsal. Ask me later."
Right. He doesn't ever. What category would you be in?
Geek squad.
Geek squad. Okay, great. And how about you?
I was going best dressed in the high school.
Oh, yes, it is.
Ask him what year it was.
I didn't get most likely to succeed or fail. Best dressed.
That's amazing. I wouldn't have anticipated that necessarily.
Looking at me today, you would.
You're looking good.
Bell bottoms and a very long collar.
We're talking platforms, the whole thing.
He was fly.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. Yeah, didn't know that. And so, would you guys get dated in high school?
No, not a bit.
I don't know. You don't think so?
No.
You think?
I couldn't know what date he was.
Oh, okay.
Late bloomer.
Late bloomer. Okay.
Yeah, I had to wait for it.
Yeah, right. Okay. So how did you guys know? Oh,
She tells it best.
you can't.
Yeah.
So I was in New York for many years working in design, first for Tiffany's and then for a company called Adrian Pittadini where I did evening wear. And then I started with Nicole Miller where I did dresses and textiles and evening wear. And we overbought fabric and we kind of got busted by her partner, the money man. And he said, "What are you doing with all that Chinese silk that just arrived?" We said, "We're doing a salute to the Chinese that built the American railroads, and we're going to mix Western and Asian, and we're going to have cowboy boots up to here with dragons and peacock feathers and pagodas." And he said, "Oh, really?" And we said, "Yes." And then we had to find out who on earth would say yes to making such a thing. And we called for Casey, and they told us we were insane. And we called a couple other companies, and then I called Marty.
I happened to be there right then. It was tag your head,
Yeah, that's fate for sure.
but we kind of got it, we were in sync. Because, I mean, most production booths are not, we did it, we're completely special.
I don't think Marty did anything harmful from that point, and neither do I. So, he doesn't live in a normal house. He didn't make normal foods. So when we met, it was like we were finishing each other's sentences, and we both got beer really well. Your mind meld.
Yeah, great. So how did you get into making boots to begin? Because obviously you've been doing it for a while. Like,
I was doing, well, let me see. Moved here in August of 1981, and I took over the Flyer business. And 60% of my client base were all the gig maker boot companies, only operas, Justice, Ranular, Facto. There's so many, from pretty huge to small, maybe 100 employees. That's some of the small ones.
You were shooting a fat.
And I was doing photography work for it. And I always say that what really turned me on to it was that we love anything vintage, basically.
Well, yeah.
Spoke for you then.
That's
But Tony Longo would do what I call the same lackluster stuff inside that they would give me. They had a room that had about 20 pair of Tony Longo Siemens boots that he had built, 50 years earlier. And they were drop dead gorgeous. And everything about them they were perfect. And visually, materials. And so I said, "Man, why don't you know these?" And they said, "Can't make any money on those. They're not a production wood." And that was the impetus that I said.
so we put the colorful stuff on the cover,
Yeah.
and fill the catalog with brown boots.
Right. Yeah. And don't forget, Peter.
so how did you acquire the boot business to begin?
Pretty much started it on a fly. There was a German who my old photo studio was on the Endell Street. I don't know if any of y'all know Susie Davinoff, but her studio was my original photo studio on the Endell. But he was up in Wyoming, and he had moved from Germany to build boots for Bludern Shoes and make it go vertical. They built them here and sell in Germany, and he went through all the seedling in about 6 weeks. And he said, "Man, this is what I'm at. I have a 1953 Meteor, which is a custom coach company. That was a hearse.
To say
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. Yeah, and we literally just worked out a deal. He had nothing. He had 2 employees, and we moved everything at that time into the Persian movie theater in the back. That's what I bought in 1989. It was 1989. We did that. Carmela and Salvador were the first two boys. And then it blew up really fast. I did all my samples, and I literally took a duffel bag and went to New York first, then went to LA, then went to Germany, to England, and where else? Italy, Switzerland, to pick up small little mom and pop.
But at that time, weren't you the only one making new vintage stuff?
Yeah, I had some. I don't think anyone else did. Now there's many more companies that kind of do what we do, that they kind of don't do what we do. That's court oratory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And uniqueness. So what would, you said, you know, you kind of finished each other's sentences and so forth, but what was your first impression of each other?
I found love in 2 seconds.
I was voted best dressed.
Do you guys remember Tres Mariposas? The store Tres Mariposas? So Nicole went to do a trunk show over there, and they were making her narrate it. Like, they don't do that in New York. You just got really loud music, and the models don't smile. And so she calls me, and I run from the boot company because they're starting the trunk show, and she's up on stage the way we are. And I walk in the back, and they're making her narrate the show, and she's like, "This is a cocktail dress." And then she sees me come in, and she's like, "Who's the guy?" And I'm like looking at her like, and I swear, I mean, don't get a big ego, but I was smitten. I was very excited to meet him. And she'd come in my desk at night, and she'd be like, "Who are you talking to?" She'd be like, "Up on a dime." I'd be like, "Weird." 2.5 years later, we dated for 2.5 years.
We ran out of frequent flyer miles. And it kind of knocks those down.
Marty was trying to run a marathon in every state, and he would call me and he'd be like, "Want to go to Tupelo, Mississippi? We could go to Graceland." I'd be like, "Yeah." And we could just fly. We never missed a flight. I don't know how.
Yeah. So you dated long distance for 2.5 years. So how did you lure Nevena to El Paso from New York? Okay.
My boss got pregnant. And she had one of those pregnancies where you had to be on the couch. And we were packing up the whole collection, trucking it down to her house. We started doing looks. And then she'd be like, "You gotta go." And I'd pour her 1 ounce of red wine. She wasn't allowed any kind of drugs, just so she wouldn't go into labor. And then I would take the whole collection and go back. And she was like, "Maybe later this afternoon you guys can come back." And it's like just a major headache. And then I pick models. And when you're picking 21 models at $5,000 an hour, each guaranteed for 4 hours, and I'm spending all this money, and I'd come out and be like, "We got Helena Christensen." And then she'd say, "Don't you think she's kind of peasanty?" "She's a peasant on the cover of Vogue, and you weren't there." Like, and it was a lot of pressure. And that show happened, and everyone came backstage and were like, "Oh, she was great." And I'm just bawling because I'm calling the show, and it's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just found a leak." But I was so done. And when Marty said, "Chris,"
We went back to, I'm from Salem, Virginia, in the Appalachian Mountains. And we went to visit my parents in Salem. And that's,
yeah, he said, "Honey, will you move to Texas?" I remember saying, "What am I going to do about Texas?"
and I said, "Take the big company."
Yeah, and
That was pretty much it.
yeah, that was it. That was
And then she said, "What did I do?"
when I got here. It was kind of like I used to say I didn't say to my good friends. I kind of hid everything in New York was Love and Roses out here, but it was like a Sissy's Basic movie. Everything but the locust. The roof of the company was leaking. The roof of home was leaking. There was a whole payroll tax thing about the guy that was managing the boot company. you know, you're not gonna say like, oh, I moved here for love. Everything's total nuts.
Right. So, what did your friends think that you're doing? It put them out at the.
I think all my girlfriends were jealous because, you know, I say I was with someone for 7 years in New York and all I had was a drawer. And the fact that an amazing man wanted me to move in and, you know, it was, New York's very temporary when you're that age, you know, and everybody's not going to come in because they're working on their career. It's all Sex in the City. There's nothing commitment about it. And I just kept thinking, oh, my boss is gonna have a baby and she's gonna have this wonderful life and I'm going to be the librarian spinster running her life. And as much as I love her, and I'm very jealous of her retired fabulousness right now, and I see her on Instagram, but you know, I'm getting there. I'm gonna be her. I'm not gonna be running her. So
That's right.
yeah.
And how about you, Marie? From your standpoint, what brought you to El Paso to begin with from Virginia? And that's many years before.
Yeah, how did you pick it? There may be people who still might know Brad Cooper, who is in town. He was a college roommate with my grad advisor in Ohio. And when I finished up my master's up there, I was going to move back to Virginia, and I called his old college roommate, who is the grad advisor, and I said, hey, we're trying to dump this studio. Do you know anyone who wants it? And so when I made that call, I called the Brian Reddick Advertising, that's where Brian was at the time, and came down and looked at it. I was so done with the Eastern Seaboard. It's wet. It's gray and wet. 7 months of the year. Spring is maybe 3 weeks in June, and then it's hot and humid. I was just really kind of done with that. So I came out here. I flew out to check it out, and I thought it was amazing. I mean, I'm truly a desert rat. Look at this. But I mean, I love the fact journalism was what I was doing. That's what Brad did in Ohio. And that's what brought him here was the El Paso Terriers. He was started out a journalist, he then advertised. But just to have two countries separated by one river that you can get to, and that I tell everyone when they ask me today, what do I think about El Paso Wars today versus what I knew to? I liked it a lot better back then. It was easier, is the way I would play it. And you could cross, come back, and then Luray Cabin. We had Luray Cabins. We have Carlsbad out here, you know, back home. Everything is bigger. The sky is wonderful.
That was my New York thing. It was like someone took a lid off because there's so many big buildings, you always feel like. And then I got here, I used to drive really slow to FedEx just to like look at the sunset.
Yeah, Tom Lee loved the light. It was
Mm-hmm.
it's very special. So, what were your expectations about Leave Together? Did you? Well,
There's too much to do.
do pluses and minuses, lists are in the bar?
All this.
No, we just had too much to do. I just remember one turning point when we decided to make this area of the theater our apartment, because Marty still had clients that would be in the majority of the building. And there was this room that had all the heating and cooling for the theater. And he said, we'll rip that out and that can be your closet. Well, I came home and they had ripped it out and it was enormous. And he's like, wow, it's bigger than I thought. It can be a whole other room. And I'm like, no, you said closet. So it's really great. It has 3 levels of bars.
Can we tour that too?
Actually, a lot of people borrow stuff because I have like a gown collection from New York, and you know, people get invited to fancy things, and if we're the same sock, it works. Yeah, it works. I'm not getting rid of any of it. It's my archives.
That's right. Uh-huh.
But she is very project-oriented from start to finish.
I'm a finisher.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like me collect vintage and I say, I get it, I bring it in and I go buy brushes.
I
And she
display it.
gets it and displays it and it looks like $1 billion. So that's true. The movie video was pulled before she came out, but it's much better now. And Rocket Busters is all her, as far as, because it was a nice structure that was empty, basically. So she took.
I developed a project.
Yeah. So what expectations did you have each other in the beginning versus now?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the table.
See, but he knows I'm
Saturdays-
obsessive when I do that anyway, right? Because
Saturdays
otherwise it
are
wouldn't be
more
done
day.
right.
Actually, not whatsoever.
Yeah, no,
It
we
was
were just.
it was really a team going. You know, it's like, okay, what do we do?
I mean, all those road trips and stuff that we did when we were dating. I think everyone should date for that long because we just like, and the fact that we were dating at marathons and we didn't have any work pressure or family, or it was just us getting to know each other, having fun, and ending up in weird situations and sometimes almost running out of gas. You know,
Sometimes wrong.
he ran double marathons on McDonald's Super Fries once because we couldn't find a vegan restaurant. And I'm like, how are you going to run? We did Illinois, Indiana in one weekend. I shopped my cat food collection. We went to junk stores. He ran, but we couldn't find food. But I mean, you know, somebody is just going to make it work. And I'm that way too. Like, he made it work on 2 McDonald's Super Fries. It says a lot about a person.
Right. So are you both vegetarian?
No, but I don't mind cooking that way. But when I came here, I mean, I love El Paso now, and I loved it then, but the fun thing now is when people are like, oh, there's traffic. I'm like, you don't know about traffic. And it's
There
like,
is traffic.
and
There
like,
anymore.
the second you go somewhere else and you're like, I love it at home. Did you see how much dinner was last night? It's like, we still have this like a mecca of no traffic, beautiful skies. There are just too many cars in New York now when I go to visit. It's just better. And I think that we're both pretty easygoing, and I don't mind cooking. But now we have full food, so that's more fun than it was before, right?
We want Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Anyone can make that happen. Yeah.
See, chains have their
There's
place
no
in
good
life.
reason.
Yeah. So you all had a baby, right?
He was.
Well, no, wait, we were given the short baby. I had like a bunch of cancer junk, and they were going to move me from testing me every 3 months to every 6 months, and at 5 months, I like had these pains up my arms. I'm like, oh damn it, now I've got breast cancer. You test me now, and all of Planned Parenthood came in, and they're like, you're not sick, you're pregnant, and I think that could get pregnant, and I got in at 39 3/4, and I was 5 months pregnant. I'm that girl. The girl from the soap opera that suddenly finds out she's 5 months pregnant.
Right. Wow. That's.
And I had to tell him, and he was doing a photo shoot, and there were people everywhere, and the cookbook, and the chef, and the client, and we go to dinner, and it's like 11 people. I'm like, I can't say anything.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned you had about cancer,
Yeah,
and
Cervical
before you
cancer.
said it.
yeah, and they kept, they kept testing me, and they did all sorts of different stuff. And then finally, that they're like, we'll test you in another 3 months, and then they said, okay, you did 3 months, now we'll do 5, and I would do 6 and 5 months. there he was, 5 months pregnant.
Wow.
That's a big cure.
Yeah, worked out just great for us.
It's
Instant
this
baby.
high, dry air that would
Right
make
under
it
the-
pure.
Right, yeah.
I got in at 39 3/4, and I have, my mom's like, "Are you gonna have another one?" I'm like, when you were given a gift
Yeah. Yeah.
on the fast track, you don't ask for more, you just be happy.
Right. Yeah, so your son's Tripper?
Trip, he's 20.
Yeah.
Junior going mechanical engineering, anyone
Yeah.
in hiring will take it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's totally different from you guys, isn't he?
We thought so until recently.
He's more like this than he is.
But he's like the math brain and the science guy. And then just recently started working with Allie Deb. He came in and he said, "Mom, will you teach me how to use the sewing machine?" And now he's doing art with her and mechanical engineering. And then he's always been kind of into music, but he started like writing music and putting stuff together now. So you feel, he took us and he went to a whole other math science place. But
So, what was your approach to parenting?
get up and go, grab Bailey, go camping.
That's true. If early it was just no different, but
Don't read any books. That's what my best girlfriends told me. They said, don't read the books. The books will make you paranoid. You don't need to know any of the stuff in the book. And she took the list they gave me and said, don't buy that.
Yeah, it's true.
And it worked out pretty well.
And I would say he's an old soul. You know, he never was crazy. He was never really experimental. We almost
He's
thought of him
accused us of being
as
silly.
one of us, not as parents and child. He was always just the Three Musketeers.
That's so. Any advice to other people related to parenting?
Just don't do it.
Don't,
Just absolutely do not do it.
don't read the book.
Freeze your eggs and walk away.
So, as you know, you were both really busy. You're running these two businesses, right? So, what did you do with Trip in the new city?
Oh, St. Clements. So here's your circle. St. Clements had amazing. I loved these places you'd go and you'd be like, I need daycare. And they're like, okay, we have daycare till 1. I'm like, I have a job. I don't need to have my hair done or get a manicure. I have a job. It's going to take me all the way without 5. And St. Clements had the best. And Miss Celia, who helped raise Trip, I ran into her during COVID at Sprouts, and they closed their daycare. And I was like, oh my God, you can run children. You are so hired at my office. And she came to work for us. There is nothing like someone that's done their dues at daycare.
So, you hire some kind of interesting people. They don't have the boot making resumes.
That's why we like them. Because, our laster, blasting a boot, traditionally is done with lemon with pegs, and that's a science and that's an art. And Pete is up there between 80 and
77.
Oh, 77. Okay, I thought he was 80, but
He's retired twice.
he's been with us since I got there, and the whole history of the company basically. And his family keeps trying to get him to retire, and his only answer is, I don't want to hang out with them. So we try to make work his refuge, his happy place. But when it comes to young artists, I just want people that want to do what they're doing. And anybody else we can teach. The guy that does all the beautiful carving on our leather started out with his dad, who's a traditional saddle maker, carver. but he likes anime and he likes all Japanese art. And when I said, dude, you want to carve some koi fish? He was like, yes. And he's been working for me since he was 15. And now he lives at Art Studies and he has his studio there. And yeah.
So you nurtured and mentored a lot of young people.
People like me, like I like to make stuff. I don't care if it's woodworking. I was painting the side of our building on the weekend. I mean, people that like to make stuff just like to make stuff. And if they can do that all day long, they don't care what it is. And those are the people I want because we all have fun together.
Right. So do you ever get depressed?
No, I get tired. I'm not like I ever get depressed.
Okay.
Only when paying payroll taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
When Marty calls me and tells me things about paperwork, that might be.
Depressed.
It's nothing, a little glass of wine when I get home, we got solved though.
So how do you guys, would you say your marriages had challenges? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were a big challenge. No, I'm sorry. It was a, can I say shit show up here? But it just, yeah, my mom had a stroke. My stepfather was just a piece of work. And could they simply move from Boston and become our responsibility? And it's all hard, and everyone goes through it. A lot of our friends are going through it right now. I ended up taking the weight out of the 3 kids. It's like, I know you're running a business, but could you simply handle all this? And we'll just go about our business? And
that happens.
if anybody needs some antiques, I've got 3 storage units from Boston full of really fancy stuff I'll never use. But it's, yeah, that was, and Marty's a saint because I'm sure I qualified as the 2 wheels a couple of many times during that whole 4-year.
The booking is at November days.
That's the best.
Give it a day, it's gone.
So you, how did you support Nevena during that
Coffee. He makes great coffee. Yeah. He was just there.
Yeah, we pretty much are always together, that's true. Unless there's trouble, but yeah, that's true.
I think there was some wine too when I got home. Like, here.
In the box.
In a box.
No, never. No, I'm too snobby for that.
Right. So, what advice would you give to our audience about how to have a blissful marriage like you guys?
Do your homework. There's no rush.
That's why I said,
Traveling helps too.
for easier illness than could write that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, one of our clients just had a baby, and I'm like, but she's 1 year older than me. Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
just in case she thought she might need a kid now.
I would say just don't stop, be like a shark, you know, if you stop, you die.
Right.
So if you're moving forward, it could be anything. It could be anything, but have commonalities. That's what makes so much stuff. We talk more about this project or that project, or it's just necessity to get through that way. It keeps you from just so many.
I have a new favorite time of day in El Paso.
5:45 a.m.
I started waking up just because it's so pretty when it's dark, and we can just sit and look out the front window of the theater and watch the world wake up and watch the sunrise and drink coffee and just talk about random stuff. And it's almost not polite to mention stressful stuff at that time of day.
Right.
So we just kind of hang out and have fun. And I feel like I've rested. No matter how crazy the day gets, I just feel like it's been a beautiful morning and I had my chill time. And if I have to go nonstop till 6:30 and run home and make dinner, and it's all good. I had my morning.
So having a good start to the day like that together
Yeah.
is it's right.
Absolutely looks bright. Instead of bold.
Or a different direction. Yeah. My husband actually did.
Zero.
So anyway, what questions do you all have for Nevena and Marty? We need some questions, so somebody's got to be the brave one. I know several of you. I could call you. Yeah, great. Front and center.
Did your favorite receive after the like gets bit one?
Favorite person they have from Lake Darkleys one. Oh, yeah. So and Nevena's made booze for all kinds of amazing people. So that's a good question.
Okay. Gosh, it's really tricky. I mean, they're all cool, but sometimes there's this one client, and he now lives somewhere near Austin. They have a ranch, but is a bigwig for Halcyon. He ran by a hedge fund for Halcyon. His name was Joe Hill. And so, you know, I moved here from New York, and big New Yorker calls me, and he's a size 13, and he wants boots for him, and he wants boots for his twin daughters that both graduated Princeton, and he wants tigers on them. And well, at first he wanted them kind of rah-rah, like sports oriented. And I'm like, Joe, where do these daughters live? He's like, well, they live in Manhattan. No, I'm like, they're not wearing some sports rah-rah looking boot. I'm like, I'll make them boots with tigers. And I made the boots, and they were just black boots, like every New Yorker needs. And I had this gorgeous tiger, which was not the school's tiger, but it wasn't tiger. And the tail kind of wrapped around a little bit on the foot. And he sent me the letter they sent to him. And it was like, Dad, this is the most beautiful, well thought out, amazing thing you have ever given us. You touched our soul. And, you know, years later, some of my friends from college, and I went to college in Europe, and they were getting married in Budapest, and I really wanted to go El Paso to Budapest. Imagine how lovely that was to try to figure out. And I was in tears, and I couldn't figure out how to get there, and there weren't seats on any planes, and Joe calls, and he's like, you sound down. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get tickets. And he's like, well, I'm in London. Where are you trying to get tickets to? I'm like, El Paso to Budapest, and I have to be there by this day. And he totally bought my ticket. And I had bulkhead first row in every plane. And I'm like, they said there weren't even any tickets. How did I get tickets? And it was just like, he's like, I want you to have the best time. And yeah.
So who are some of the stars that you've worked with?
Well, right now we're doing a lot of stuff for The Voice, for Reva. One of my personal favorites is, well, the interior designer, Kelly Wurstler, and who just had a baby.
One of those.
She's so fabulous. I aspire. But Sylvester Stallone was really nice. He is a big fan, and he's not afraid to like go on social media and tell everyone we're his favorite. And even his crazy brother Frank, who I'm sure many people refer to as his crazy brother Frank. It's you just never know. Doing Shabuzi for his NFL Christmas party with Beyonce was great. We just got Diplo, the DJ, and he's like, do I have to rent the boots to borrow them with my stylist? I'm like, no, we just loan them to you and we want pictures. So he got interviewed at the Super Bowl, and he's like, yeah, check out my boots. And he totally did that for us. And I have it like posted on our stories, on our highlights. But I don't know, it's just, everybody's a normal person, and I love that they're so happy to wear their stuff.
Other questions? Somebody has something? Yes.
Speak your worst.
Speak your worst, yes. or describe what happens?
Well, there's tricky. I don't know if we've had a worse customer. I mean, we've done some really tricky stuff. Creepy customer who wanted some very kind of curvy, nakedy kind of things that I like pinups, like old school 40s style pinups. So I turned it sort of what he wanted. I thought was sort of tasteless, so I had to make it cute and fabulous. And then we were in Vegas one year, and this guy comes up and he said, "Hey, I want to take a picture with you and Marty." And I looked at his feet, and I'm like, "Oh, it's that guy." And Marty's like looking at me like, "Why do you have the funny look on her face?" And I'm like, and so I'm taking a picture with him like this.
The ooh.
And so he leaves and Marty's like, "What's up with that?" I'm like, "I'm going to show you when I get home." But yeah, so I mean, they ended up being quite tasteful, but I wasn't going to put our label in it unless I thought they were.
Right. So you have standards that you apply for.
Yeah, but I can make people think I'm doing what they want and do what I want.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
One more question.
Come
Okay, fun.
Is there a backlog or waiting time? And how long does it take to make a pair?
Okay, if you just made a pair of straight boots with a nice stitch pattern, it should take about 2.5 to 3 weeks with proper dry time. Right now, we're doing some stuff at the speed of light for Reba's tour. Manny's gonna work all weekend. Everyone's gonna stay late. We're gonna put the crystals on and send them off, but that's not normal. We had 2 pairs of boots that took 3 years that we sent this week. Well, in the last month, I'd say. A pair with iguanas. She moved her horses to Puerto Rico, and she wanted iguanas and tropical flowers. I'd never drawn an iguana before, and we wanted 2 iguanas, a parent and a baby, and we wanted the tail to go onto the foot, and all her favorite tropical flowers. And I had to draw it. Then Rick had to carve it, and then the color and the texture, and it just took forever, but they're amazing. And sometimes we price ourselves out, or we're not even making any money by the time we're done. But you can't predict it. So hopefully, it works out in the end. The people that I just finished with this, according to my clients, something that must be like a $250,000 shotgun, which is an heirloom piece from a company called Purdy & Sons in London. Could we simply take the inspiration of the animal carvings in sterling silver and do it on an entire boot, and then hand carve it, stain it, match it up with crocodile? And they had taken that project to someone else where it sat for 5 years and they didn't get anything. And so I told Marty I was taking the credit card to Whole Foods. I was going to buy some wine and some snacks, and I was going to get them a pattern so they could stop being all, "Well, the other people measured us too, and we never bought anything." So, it's always different, but you just never know. We try to tell people now, so I don't get like stressed out and pressured. I sit in Vegas where we do 1.5 years worth of orders, and I say, rockstar mentality. If you want what we do, you have to wait. and try not to make any promises. So the only people we promise are brides, because they're scared.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
the brides.
What's your favorite El Paso activity and restaurant?
Okay, Savage Goods is our favorite restaurant because our social life revolves around breakfast.
They're catering.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a doggy bed? Favorite activity?
Boy, that's a good one.
Breakfast.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'll get that. That's it. Well, I don't,
Going to our friend's house to see what they've done
Yeah.
with their gardens.
I don't think I have.
Probably work is your activity.
Work is it,
Right,
yeah, pretty much.
Well, I'm going to Cloudcroft too, like camping and stuff.
But that's no El Paso.
Well, and the messing around in the backyard. Marty's gardening.
Huh?
Look how big my peppers are.
Right, there you go. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for being here. I learned a lot from you guys, so thank you.
And there's postcards here if anybody wants. And then there's little things on our open house on Monday if you want to take some or come by the shop.
If you can stop by on Monday, that's President's Day. Might be not working, but it's really something to see boots being made. I mean, in traditional old school, some of our machines are from 1918, so they're already more than 100 years old of this boot making stuff that we use. And it's the smell of the place, the smell of leather, everything by it. It's really kind of nice. It's not about going to a clean, fresh store and getting this in a 10 hat deep. You know, oh yeah, that's it. You know, you see. The one thing that I would like to add just at the end is that everything, we build snowflakes. It's kind of no two are ever the same. So that's what takes so long. We have so many clients that say, it's easy to put the deposit down. And it's TBD, to be designed, to be decided. And sometimes people will wait years. They say, oh, there's too many elements. I've got this going on and that. And we literally sit on orders forever, mainly because of that and not the fact that, but she is literally drawing every pattern. When I started with the company, we had 24 styles and you could change the colors, but everything was still cut by hand and everything. But to get initials, oh, that's cool, that's mine. None of hers ever look the same. And you'll see that if you go to the shop.
Well, thank you very much, and you please hang out for some of you on a wine and charcuterie and enjoy yourself. This is an evening for you to relax and be nourished yourselves. So thank you.
Happy Valentine's.
Yeah, happy Valentine's.